Welcome back to Motown Groove, the place where the music never stops and the memories never fade. Before we get into today's countdown, I want you to think back for a second. Think about a time when you were riding somewhere, windows down, radio up, and a song came on that just stopped you in your tracks. Not because it was the biggest hit of the year, not because everyone was talking about it, but because it was real. It had something in it that spoke directly to you. That's what 1975 sounded like. Now here's something most people don't realize about that year. 1975 was one of the most musically diverse years in American history. Rock, soul, funk, pop, and the early rumble of disco were all sharing the same airwaves, sometimes back to back, and listeners didn't just accept that variety, they loved it. But hidden inside that incredible year were songs that quietly slipped through the cracks. Songs that deserved way more attention than they got. Songs that, when you hear them again today, make you ask yourself, how did I forget about this? Today on Motown Groove, we're counting down 15 of those songs. 15 1975 Billboard hits that shaped the sound of a generation, but don't always get the recognition they deserve. And I promise you, by the time we get to number 1, you're going to want to go back and play every single one of these. Let's get into it. Number 15, Jackie Blue, Ozark Mountain Daredevils. We open the countdown with a song that doesn't demand your attention. It earns it slowly, quietly, and it doesn't let go.
Ask a winner and you're probably fine.
Jackie Blue by the Ozark Mountain Daredevils sounds, on the surface, like a perfectly relaxed piece of country-flavored rock. Easy melody, warm production.
But I don't see it rise. Moonlight and stars and
But listen a little closer and you start to feel something underneath it. A subtle tension, a quiet unease that lingers long after the last note fades. The Ozark Mountain Daredevils were never about flash or spectacle. They believed in atmosphere, they believed in restraint. And on Jackie Blue, that approach paid off in a big way. Rather than spelling out every emotion for the listener, they trusted the mood to do the work, and it did. In a year when so many artists were chasing the next big trend, and this band leaned back, breathed deep, and told a story on their own terms. That kind of confidence is rare, and listeners felt it. Jackie Blue proved that introspective, understated music still had a powerful place on mainstream radio in 1975, and it sets the tone perfectly for what this countdown is all about. Music that feels like something, even when it whispers instead of shouts. Number 14, Fight the Power, the Isley Brothers. From a quiet whisper to a steady, purposeful groove, the countdown picks up energy with one of the most important recordings of the entire decade. Fight the Power by the Isley Brothers arrived in 1975 with a message that was impossible to ignore. But what made it brilliant was how it delivered that message. There was no aggression, no lecturing, no heavy hand. Just a deep, rolling funk groove that pulled you in from the first beat, and lyrics that spoke to self-awareness, dignity, and strength in a way that felt both personal and universal. The Isley Brothers had a gift that very few artists have ever matched: the ability to make music that was serious and celebratory at the same time. Fight the Power could move your body and your mind simultaneously. That's not easy to do. That's not something you can manufacture. Its success on the charts that year said something important. That audiences were ready for music that meant something, as long as it also made them feel something. The Isley Brothers understood that balance better than almost anyone. Coming in at number 14, Fight the Power remains a landmark recording. And if you haven't heard it in a while, do yourself a favor and go back to it. It holds up like nothing you've ever heard. Number 13, Angie Baby. Helen Reddy. Just when you think you know what 1975 radio sounds like, along comes a song that quietly rewrites the rules.
Here in your room each night and they whirl you across the floor.
Angie Baby by Helen Reddy is one of the strangest, most fascinating pop hits of the entire decade, and I mean that as the highest possible compliment. On the surface, it sounds like a soft, melodic pop song.
It's confused like he walked into a play, and the music's so...
But the story it tells is something else entirely. It's dark, it's mysterious. It builds toward a twist that the first time you hear it genuinely unsettles you.
Secret lover who keeps her satisfied.
Helen Reddy didn't play this one safe. The song moves like a short story. Deliberate pacing, eerie details, a theatrical sense of tension that was almost unheard of on mainstream radio at the time.
Radio by your side, Angie Baby.
It trusted listeners to lean in, pay attention, and sit with the discomfort of not being entirely sure what just happened. Or that originality made Angie Baby unforgettable. Not because it was comforting, but because it wasn't. In a year full of feel-good grooves and heartfelt ballads, this song stood in the corner and stared back at you. And somehow, that was exactly what people needed to hear. Number 13, a song that proves that storytelling risks, when taken with conviction, almost always pay off. Number 12, Wasted Days and Wasted Nights. Freddie Fender. After the chill of Angie Baby, the countdown softens, but the emotion runs just as deep. Wasted Days and Wasted Nights by Freddie Fender is the kind of song that wraps around you like something you've known your whole life, even if you're hearing it for the first time. Originally recorded years before its 1975 release, the song found its true audience in that moment, connecting with listeners across pop, country, and Tex-Mex lines in a way that felt almost miraculous. Freddie Fender had a voice that carried a lifetime of experience in every single note. When he sang about regret, you believed him. When he sang about time lost and love gone, there was no performance in it, just honesty delivered with a quiet ache that stayed with you. What's remarkable about this song is what it doesn't do. It doesn't wallow, it doesn't beg. It simply reflects. And in that reflection, listeners heard their own stories, their own wasted days, their own nights spent wondering what might have been. At number 12, Freddie Fender reminds us that in a year filled with musical experimentation, sometimes the most powerful thing an artist can offer is simply the truth. Number 11, Boogie on Reggae Woman. Stevie Wonder. From emotional honesty, we pivot into fearless, genre-defying creativity. Because that's what Stevie Wonder did in 1975, and nobody did it better. Boogie on Reggae Woman is one of the most delightfully unconventional hits of the entire decade. Built around a gritty harmonica line that grabs you instantly and a hypnotic groove that refuses to let you go, the song threw funk, pop, and reggae-influenced textures into a blender and came out with something that sounded like nobody else. Because nobody was Stevie Wonder, what makes this track so special even now is its spontaneous energy. It feels alive in a way that overly produced records never quite manage. You can hear the joy in it. You can feel Stevie playing, exploring, following the music wherever it wants to go, and trusting that the audience will follow. That confidence defined Stevie Wonder's mid-70s run, a period many music historians consider the greatest sustained creative hot streak in the history of popular music. And Boogie on Reggae Woman is one of the jewels of that era. Number 11, a reminder that the greatest artists don't chase trends, they make their own. Number 10, Love Won't Let Me Wait, Major Harris. As the countdown continues, we slow things down in the best possible way. Love Won't Let Me Wait by Major Harris is a masterclass in tension. In anticipation, in what happens when a vocalist trusts the space between the notes just as much as the notes themselves. From the opening moments, this song wraps you in a quiet, intimate intensity that feels almost too personal for radio.
You owe it to yourself,
and yet there it was, connecting with listeners across the country who felt every word like it had been written specifically for them. Major Harris delivered this vocal with extraordinary restraint. No over-singing, no unnecessary runs, just pure controlled desire. And somehow that made it 10 times more powerful than if he'd gone full force. And the slow burn of Love Won't Let Me Wait proved something important in 1975. Vulnerability is not weakness.
you can set me free when I make.
Letting a listener feel the longing rather than just describing it is one of the most sophisticated things a singer can do. And Major Harris did it beautifully. At number 10, this is a song that deserves to be rediscovered by a whole new generation of R&B listeners. Turn the lights down low when you play it. Trust me on that one.
Good to see you, brother.
Number 9, Why Can't We Be Friends? War from intimate longing, the countdown opens back up into something wider, warmer, and surprisingly timeless. Why Can't We Be Friends?
Sometimes your ladies just wanna kill you.
By War is one of those songs that sounds so effortlessly simple that it's easy to underestimate just how brilliantly it was crafted. That easygoing funk groove, that almost nonchalant delivery, it all feels casual. Like the band just strolled in and started playing. But underneath that laid-back surface is a question that cuts right to the heart of human relationships. Why can't we be friends? War didn't preach, they didn't pound the table, they just kept asking, over and over in that hypnotic groove. And the repetition became the point. The more you heard it, the more you felt it. The more you felt it, the more you couldn't argue with it. That approach made the song accessible across audiences, across formats, across demographics. It was funk, but it was also something beyond category. It was a feeling. In a year when social commentary was finding its way into mainstream music more than ever before, Why Can't We Be Friends showed that the most powerful messages are often the simplest ones. Number 9, and honestly, still just as relevant today as it was in 1975. Number 8, Lady Marmalade, LaBelle. If the last song was the most welcoming entry on this countdown, number 8 is the most commanding. Lady Marmalade by LaBelle didn't ease its way onto radio, it took over radio. Patti LaBelle and her bandmates arrived with an energy so bold, so theatrical, so completely unapologetic that you had no choice but to stop whatever you were doing and pay attention. This was soul, this was funk, this was performance art disguised as a pop record. And it was unlike anything that had come before it on the mainstream charts. A ferociously confident, female-led recording that didn't ask for space. It claimed space. LaBelle challenged everything about what a hit record was supposed to look and sound like in 1975. The production was lush and dramatic, the vocals were raw and fearless. The attitude was immovable, and audiences responded to every single bit of it. Lady Marmalade wasn't just a chart success, It was a statement. It helped redefine what pop presentation could be, particularly for black women artists who had far too often been pushed towards safer, more palatable sounds. At number 8, Lady Marmalade remains one of the most electrifying recordings of the entire decade. There's never been another song quite like it. Number 7, The Hustle, Van McCoy and the Soul City Symphony. By 1975, something was happening on dance floors across America. You could feel it building, in the clubs, in the charts, in the energy of the crowds. And then Van McCoy opened the door all the way. The hustle didn't just arrive, it announced an era. What makes this record truly remarkable is what it doesn't have. There isn't a single word of vocal. No lead singer, no hook in the traditional sense. Just an irresistible orchestral groove, smooth strings, a steady pulse, and a melody so infectious that it became inescapable within weeks of release. And it sparked a worldwide dance craze. From a purely instrumental record. Think about how extraordinary that is. Van McCoy understood something fundamental about what music can do. It can move people, I literally and figuratively, without ever saying a word. The hustle pushed disco fully into the mainstream and helped establish the sound that would dominate the second half of the decade. Number 7, the song that taught an entire generation a new way to move, and never needed to say a word to do it. Number 6, Pick Up the Pieces, Average White Band. As the disco momentum builds, funk steps forward to remind everyone where the groove was born. Pick Up the Pieces by the Average White Band is a lesson in pure musicianship. No frills, no gimmicks, just tight playing, crisp horns, and a rhythm section so locked in that it feels like a single organism breathing together. And here's the thing, just like The Hustle, this is an instrumental. No vocalist carrying the melody, no lyrical hook to lean on. Everything depends entirely on feel, on timing, on the interplay between musicians who clearly understood each other deeply. What the Average White Band did on this track was prove that instrumental music could not only compete on the pop charts,
vocals and guitar. Hamish Stewart.
it could dominate them. Pick Up the Pieces spent 2 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. 2 weeks, without a single sung word. That kind of achievement speaks to something timeless about the power of groove. When musicians are truly playing together, when the feel is right, it transcends everything. Genre, language, era. You don't need to understand music theory to feel it in your chest. At number 6, Pick Up the Pieces remains one of the tightest, most satisfying recordings of the 1970s. And if you haven't listened to it with good speakers lately, that needs to change today. Number 5, at 17, Janis Ian. We've been moving through groove and energy and dance floors, and now the countdown takes a turn towards something quieter and considerably braver.
The Friday night charades of you.
At 17, by Janis Ian is not an easy listen. Not because it's unpleasant, it's actually quite beautiful, but because it is so unflinchingly honest that it has a way of reaching back into your own memory and pulling things out that you thought you'd put away.
He's the ones who serve, they only get what they deserve.
This was a song about the loneliness of adolescence, about the teenagers who didn't fit, who weren't chosen, who watched from the edges while the world seemed to celebrate everyone but them. In 1975, That kind of subject matter was virtually non-existent on mainstream radio. And yet here was Janice Ian, and delivering it with a conversational intimacy that made it feel like she was sitting right next to you.
Dreams were all they gave for free to ugly duck.
The genius of At 17 is that it doesn't ask for your sympathy. It doesn't perform sadness for effect. It simply tells the truth, quietly, precisely, without a single wasted word.
Play the game when we dare.
And in doing so, it gives listeners permission to acknowledge their own truths. Listeners heard their own stories in this song. Their own memories echoed back to them, and that kind of recognition is one of the most powerful things music can offer. Number 5. A song that proved vulnerability is not just valid on the pop charts. Sometimes it's the most powerful force there is. Number 4. He Don't Love You, Like I Love You, Tony Orlando and Dawn. From personal reflection, the countdown shifts into something more dramatic. The specific aching longing of loving someone who belongs to someone else. He Don't Love You Like I Love You by Tony Orlando, and Dawn is a song built around a feeling most people know and very few are willing to admit to. It's the feeling of watching from the outside. Of knowing with total certainty that what you have to offer is more than what someone else is receiving, and being powerless to do anything about it. Tony Orlando and Dawn delivered this with a sincerity that never tipped into melodrama. That's a delicate balance. The song has genuine emotional stakes, but the performance stays grounded, earnest, human. You don't feel like you're watching performers. You feel like you're listening to someone tell you something they've been holding inside for too long. The song's dramatic arc made it instantly relatable, and its chart success in 1975 reflected the appetite audiences had for music that took emotional risks and meant what it said. At number 4, He Don't Love You. Like I Love You is a reminder that the songs we remember longest are usually the ones brave enough to say exactly what we've all felt, but couldn't quite find the words for. Number 3, Hey Won't You Play? Another Somebody Done, Somebody Wrong song, B.J. Thomas. After the intensity of number 4, the countdown finds a different kind of emotional wisdom, one that's gentler, warmer, and just a little bit self-aware.
Somebody done somebody wrong song.
B.J. Thomas had one of the most distinctive voices in American pop music. Warm, slightly weathered, effortlessly sincere. And on this song, he put it to perfect use. The title itself tells you everything about the tone. This isn't a song drowning in heartbreak.
That's gone wrong, 'cause I don't want.
This is a song that knows it's a heartbreak song and finds something almost comforting in that self-knowledge. The melody is soft, the delivery is unhurried.
Play for me a sad.
And the message that sometimes the only remedy for a bad night is a song that understands your bad night is so relatable that it almost feels like a conversation rather than a performance.
I miss my baby. I miss.
There's a gentleness to this record that made it stand apart from everything else on the 1975 charts. While other artists were reaching for urgency or spectacle, B.J. Thomas simply sat down beside the listener and said,
A brand new love song.
I know, I've been there too. Let's just be here for a minute. That kind of musical companionship is rare, and listeners recognized it immediately. Number 3, a song that proves sometimes the most honest thing you can do is admit you need the music as much as anyone else.
Baby, won't you play another song?
Number 2, the Ballroom Blitz, Sweet and Now, Everything Changes. If the first 12 entries on this countdown have taken you through moods ranging from reflective to romantic to socially conscious, number 2 is here to blow the doors off. The Ballroom Blitz by Sweet is pure, uncut, glam rock adrenaline. From the moment it starts, that iconic opening exchange where the band asks each other if they're ready, there is no going back. This song exists at one speed, full, and it never once apologizes for it. Sweet leaned completely into the theatrical excess of glam rock, crafting a record built for maximum crowd reaction. The pounding rhythm, the call and response structure, the theatrical, almost cinematic sense that something larger than life is happening and you are right in the middle of it. It's exhilarating in a way that very few records from any era manage to achieve. What makes the Ballroom Blitz so remarkable in the context of this countdown is the contrast it creates. In a year when so many hits were introspective, vulnerable, or groove-based, here was a song that was none of those things, and it thrived anyway. Because 1975, radio genuinely had room for everything. At number 2, the Ballroom Blitz is a reminder that sometimes music doesn't need to say anything at all. Sometimes it just needs to ignite. Number 1, Black Water, the Doobie Brothers. And here we are, the top of the countdown, and I have to say, this one feels right, because after everything we've heard tonight, the funk, the soul, the glam rock, the heartbreak, the dance floor anthems, what lands at number 1 is something completely different from all of it. Something that doesn't rush, something that breathes. Black Water by the Doobie Brothers is one of those songs that feels like a place more than a recording. It sounds like late summer, like a river moving slow and easy through the dark. Like sitting somewhere peaceful and feeling for just a few minutes like everything in the world is exactly as it should be. The Doobie Brothers built this song on space and harmony, layered vocals that feel effortless even though they were meticulously crafted, in a gentle rhythm that never pushes, an atmosphere that wraps around you rather than demanding your attention. And then, right in the middle of it, there's a pause, an unexpected moment of near silence that caught radio listeners completely off guard when the song first aired. Stations weren't warned about it, DJs thought something had gone wrong, and yet that moment, that breath, became one of the most talked about elements of the entire recording. That's the genius of Black Water. It understood something that very few artists truly grasp. Confidence doesn't require volume. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to stop and trust that people are still with you. In 1975, a year of incredible musical variety and creative courage, Black Water captured the spirit of all of it. Not by being the loudest or the most dramatic or the most innovative, but by being, in every sense of the word, itself. Number 1, and every bit deserving of it.